Good day. Welcome to Endurance Room. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to take a look at a pack that I've put together that I've got ready to go out the door whenever I need it. You know, I've kind of gone through my gear that I've accumulated over the years and decided what I wanted to use, what would be, fun for me, yet flexible enough to cover all my bases, my primary needs, plus any changes in the weather. It's been really warm this summer, but then we've had days that are like down in the 40s. So I need some flexibility with my sleep system. But, I want to keep the weight down to about 20 pounds, which I've managed to do, which is pretty cool considering I'm using military surplus. This gear that I've got today, it's some of my newer stuff. So it's newer military and it's a little bit more pricey than a lot of the surplus that's out there that, especially guys that are just getting into it or girls that are just getting into it, maybe have access to. So what I thought we could do is take a look at this kit, and then in the next video, we'll take a look at different kit using older military surplus that's much more economic, shall we say. So with that, welcome to Endurance Room. The backpack that I've chosen to use is the Jääkäri M from Savotta. This is a Finnish made pack. It's about 25, 30 liters, really an excellent pack. The quality of construction is top notch, but you've got room to expand the pack vertically under the lid, and then you're able to fix gear on the bottom, on the sides. There's retention straps that are adjustable, compression straps. Very, very well made. It runs about 200 bucks, but it's an awesome pack and it'll last you a lifetime. On the outside of the pack, I've got my water, so I've just got quick access to it. I've got a 32-ounce steel water bottle with a nesting cup and the lid. This is a USGI canteen carrier if you don't know what it is. But I've got it ready to go so I can drink on the trail and then refill at a water source and then boil it later at my camp. Here we have everything laid out. Starting left to right, I've got something to sleep on. This is the Finnish Defense Forces ground pad. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. It's got a ground sheet built into it, so it spreads out on the ground, giving you about 4 feet by 7 feet of cover. The ground pad, it's really, really comfortable for as thin as it is. I think it's an R4, that's pretty good. Rolled up like this, you can use it as a seat. Just throw it on the ground. Up out of the dirt, up out of the water. It's waterproof, and then when you're ready to sleep on it, you just roll it out and you got your bed. So Finnish Defense Forces ground pad, something to sleep on, something to sleep in. I've got the Jerven Fjelduken Hunter, which is a piece of Norwegian military gear. You can think of this as all the components of the Ranger roll combined into one item. It's got heat reflecting mylar-like lining with an insulation that is waterproof, and then a waterproof exterior shell. So you can use this as a tarp, you can use it as a bivvy, you can make a tent out of it, you can use it as camouflage, you can use it as rainwear. So for me, this is full body rainwear that'll fit over a backpack. It's my bivvy, my sleeping bag. I'm able to regulate the temperature just simply by opening and closing the zippers on it. It'll cover anything from in the 70s, 80s down to the 30s simply by manipulating the zippers or adding in a little bit more insulation, like, the palaka or, my clothing. Something to sleep under, I've got the ratnik shelter because it is so flexible. It's about the size of a British Basha. It's about 5 foot by 9 foot. It's got guy lines built into the whole perimeter of the tarp, letting it be super flexible. You don't need any external cordage. Rarely even need tent stakes. You can just tie it off to the trees and, set up a whole myriad of shelter configurations. You're able to use this as a ground sheet. You're able to fold it in half, buckle it together, use it as a cot, as a stretcher. Really cool piece of kit. So something to sleep on, something to sleep in, and something to sleep under. The yellow bag is a dry sack with my food. I've got titanium tea kettle in here with some herbs, spices, salt, coffee, things of the sort, and then I can put in, you know, whatever food I want to pack with me inside of this bag. Up here, I've got tent stakes and a paracord ridgeline with carabiners on prusik loops for building shelters. You know, I usually just use the guy lines, but sometimes it's cool to just run a ridgeline. So I've got options. Beside that, got a pair of work gloves. A lot of the trees are pine here, so a lot of sap, a lot of resin, and it's good to have to protect your hands. So right here, everything is inside this little, you know, possibles bag. I've got my headlamp, ferro rod, compass. These are both from Gear Convoy from Sam Wilson. Really, really excellent. I've got a roll of 1-inch Gorilla Tape, bank line for different construction tasks, or various hanks of paracord in here, usually around the 6-8 feet length, a couple of longer pieces, and a piece of fat wood, and all that fits right in here at the top of the pack, ready to go. Over here, I've got a stainless steel water bottle. It's 32 ounces, and then the nesting cup and the lid for it. So I've got something to eat in, something to cook in. You know, preferably I like to cook in this, and then I just keep the tea kettle for brewing teas and purifying water. Then I use the steel for any like food. Right above that, I've got my Silky Gomboy for processing firewood, for shelter construction, you know, any bushcraft stuff that I want to work on. Great cutting tool. And then on top of that, I've got my jacket. If the bugs start coming out or it starts cooling down, I've got a warming layer, a protective layer. And last but not least, I've got a plush palak on the bottom, and you know, this is a bit heavier. It's 2.8 pounds, I believe. It's about 6x6 cotton canvas, but it's super flexible. It lets you do, you know, a whole ton of different tasks, from poncho as a shelter, as a ground sheet. You can make a cot with it, you can make a camp chair. But you know, for me lately, I've just been using it predominantly as a ground sheet next to my fire. And then if I want to use this close to the fire, I'll put the palaka over top of it and protect it, getting a ember and burning a hole in it. All right, let's set up a quick camp. So I got my ratnik shelter. Now, originally, the shelter, the tarp, comes attached to the carrying case. They're one item, but I go ahead and just separate mine. So I've got a separate bag. You know, you got to hang on to it. It's camouflage, but if you just, you know, put it in your pack, you know where it's at, and then you could stuff that with your jacket and make a pillow out of it to sleep on. Really cool. Got my guy line. The pocket the webbing comes in. Yeah, and there you have it. This is, you know, a summer, early fall, late spring setup for me. You know, I've got a good amount of cover. I got room for all my gear. It's a microclimate. It's warm. It's reflecting my heat. And you know, these shelters are incredibly flexible with the guy lines, the pockets, the webbing loops. You can do whatever you think of, whatever you need. You know, very nice. The Jerven Fjelduken, really great piece of kit. You know, It compresses down. It's got a little bit of weight to it. It's not the lightest thing, but it's a bivvy. It's a sleeping bag. It is a tent, a tarp. It's camouflage. You know, I've slept out in, you know, relatively warm weather in these. I've slept out in really, really cold weather, like -15 Fahrenheit, and been okay. Like, I put a relatively lightweight sleeping bag on the inside of this and was okay, like far below the expected range, you know, recommended range of that sleeping bag, simply by taking advantage of the heat reflecting properties of the Jerven. Really cool piece of kit. Everything else is just gear that I transfer from pack to pack and, you know, bag to bag. You know, my cook kit and my ditty bag with, you know, everything that I got in here, my cordage, my headlamp, ferro rod, compass, you know, all the stuff that I may need. I've got it right at the top of the pack, ready to go. You know, I could probably lighten up the pack and ditch the Palaka. This would shave off 2.8 pounds, bringing the overall weight down to, I think, 17 pounds, 16.5 pounds, which is, that's pretty light for military surplus. Like, that's cool. But this is really, really flexible. It's bomb proof. If I want to be up by the fire and not burn a hole in my ground sheet, you know, really, really cool. You know, oftentimes I'll just pull this out and throw it down rather than the finish pad, just because this one's safe and I'm not gonna worry about it. And, you know, I can make a camp chair out of this. I can make a cot. I can use it as a blanket in warmer weather. Use it as a poncho. So, great piece of gear. They run about 30, 40 bucks these days. There you have it. Back on the trail. So quick to set up, quick to tear down. You know, without filming, tear down and set up is less than 5 minutes. So really, really nice. It is lightweight. It's comfortable to carry around, whether I'm hiking or camping. And, you know, most of the gear is pretty decent price-wise. The biggest investments in the pack are the bag itself, which is about 200 bucks, and the Jerven. The Jerven's about 300, thereabouts. So definitely not stuff that I had at the beginning of my bushcraft career. That being said, I'd like to do a follow-up to this video using some of the gear that I was using at the beginning. Some older military surplus stuff, some things that are probably a little bit more economic and easier to get a hold of for the newer person that just wants to get out there and start working on these skills. And, you know, still perfectly serviceable and usable. That is going to cover all of the tasks and purposes that some of this newer gear does. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions about any of the gear, how I'm using it, or whatever, I'm happy to help. Just let me know down below and we'll try and sort it out. So I hope you guys are all good, and wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, you're having a wonderful day. All right, everyone. We'll catch you soon. Cheers.